Safety car will lead the field away in around another 15 minutes. And for those who don't quite have the interest of the rest of us in motor racing, that's the hotel pool next door to us.
That was the one we're staying in.
That's the one we're staying in, yes. Sometimes, you know, life is a bit tough. Yeah, not this weekend, obviously, but sometimes it is a bit tough. A confirmation there of the track temperature, 54.5 degrees Celsius. Air temperature just hovering under 30. So actually a little cooler than it was on Friday. It was 31, 33 degrees.
That was the boss of Seat Motorsport there, Jaime Puig, just sticking his head under Banani's shroud there just to say, hey, listen, son, you've done a great job. We're going to send you a cheque in the mail.
Except probably not that last bit. Have fun, enjoy yourself. I'm not sure there's going to be a check in the post, unfortunately. Menu, Portero coming through. There's Mark Busfield, head of engineering at Chevrolet.
So Alain's got a nice clear view down an empty track here. What he has to do is make the best of the standing start, and the front-wheel drive cars generally do not make better starts than the rear-wheel drive BMWs, and fortunately he only has one to worry about. And Jörg is a pretty hard racer, doesn't give an inch, and if he gets in front of Alain is going to have to work pretty hard. But I think this weekend the BMW is not the package, not the complete package anyway, and I don't think Alain will have any trouble outbraking him or out-dragging him down the main straight.
Well, we saw Jörg's car having new brake pads fitted. I'm not sure whether they changed the discs or not. It seemed not, but certainly Menu, I would think his main worry has got to be staying in front of teammate Nicola Larini, who starts on row 2 behind them. And then it'll be interesting actually to see, because Alain spent the entire race stuck behind Nick and wasn't able to make any impression on him. With the tables reversed, if Alain's in front, it'll be interesting to see how much quicker he potentially could have gone in the first race.
Yeah, but I think what happened there was Alain very quickly realised that he didn't have that extraordinary pace to be in front, and therefore he realised quite quickly that if he stayed where he was, he would be on the front row of the grid. And that by far is the better way to go, because he could potentially win this, bank another 10 points for Chevrolet. And that's something that he really does want to do, because he doesn't have any points on. The only Chevrolet driver so far this year to score any points is Nick Larini, and frankly he seems to like this particular car. The Cruise seems to suit his driving style much more so than last year's Lassetti, because he's much higher up, he's a much more confident kind of guy, and he's driving the car better.
Well, Rob Huff, of course, with 10 points has now put himself up into the top 8 in the championship, so from 0 to hero. He is now the top Chevrolet driver, so as you say, Larini, who was previously the best scoring of their drivers, or only scoring of their drivers, will be trying to rectify that a little bit. Points for him here and points for Menu as well. So they will add, hopefully, significantly to that in the first race. But look at the number of independents who have scored points. Hernandez and Portero, Coronel. Hernandez and Zanardi aren't independents, so I'm not quite sure what was going on with that bit. Philippe Streff, again, big French hero in the 1980s. A very amiable Grand Prix driver, and his career very disappointingly cut short by the accident that put him in a wheelchair. Now runs a very successful kart racing business, corporate and public karting, with tracks dotted around France. And clearly also very closely associated in some way with Mehdi Banani. Here's Andy Priault's car. There is Andy in the background, hoping for at least a point or two this weekend, and still a little bit out of reach. He's starting outside the top 8, so points only go down to 8th place. And this is going to be another tough race weekend, I'm afraid, for Priaulт.
If Alain Menu were to score a win in this particular race, it would then put him as joint overall race winners with Jörg Müller and Andy Priault, who currently have 10 race wins each in World Touring cars.
So in fact, if Jörg stays out front, he could go in top in total, yes,
yeah, but
in all-time race wins.
I think at this moment in time, given the BMW performance this weekend and the Chevrolet performance, I'd be putting my money on Alain. But Alain has been awfully unlucky on some occasions on street tracks, where he's very good. He's won them, but he's also been awfully unlucky. So I just hope there's no pushing and shoving in the second race.
Well, let's hope that his misfortune was the starter motor failing when he put the car on the front row of the grid and then being bounced down to 10th place, rather than anything that happens in race 2. Rob Huff gets his helmet on and getting ready for the start of this race. He'll start in 8th place, so really right at the big, right in the middle of the danger zone, I suppose, just waiting for it all to happen around him. And it's very hard, as Ricardo Rydell's accident showed in the first race, very hard indeed when there are so many cars so close together trying to use a very narrow piece of track with no runoff area. The speed of approach and the narrowness of the corner are like Monza, but without the option to go across the grass or to go straight down the old part of the track. You have to funnel through, and there's no way to do it. Rydell won't make the start. Zanardi's car is not on the grid either. Coronel's is. Shapovalov and Paulson's both are. But Rydell and Zanardi looks like out of action. So we should have 23 cars ready to rock and roll for the start of this second race of the Grand Prix of Morocco, which is what they're calling it. Jordi Genet there with sponsorship from Madrid, one of the 2016 candidate cities. We saw yesterday his 3-seater Formula 1 cars being driven around.
That means 5 minutes to the start of the race, 5 minutes to get everything going, and they've got to have the cars on the ground ready to go. So they're not allowed to have them up in the air with, I think it's 3 minutes to go.
Yes, 3-minute board. The car has got to have its wheels on terra firma. Doesn't mean you can't still be looking under the bonnet. As you can see, the laptop in there programming, perhaps a little more power, perhaps a little less. I'm not sure exactly how they want to play this politically.
Yeah, make sure the turbo goes right the way through, I would think.
Of course, that's one of the other factors of having a turbocharged engine, is presumably you have a degree more under bonnet temperature to worry about, because not all of the exhaust heat from the engine is heat rejection. You don't get it going out of the exhaust. A lot of it comes back round through the turbo, and that heats itself up, heats everything else under the bonnet up as well. So there is a degree more perhaps to worry about with a turbocharged engine rather than a more traditional, normally aspirated engine.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to bother these blokes. They manage to get rid of all that heat and utilise it as best they can. They certainly are a sort of strong package, maybe not quite as strong this weekend as we would have expected, but I don't know whether that's a clever game they're playing to make sure they don't get any more weight before pole, and I think they're trying to suck the Chevrolets into a position of having to carry more weight for the next street track.
Well, I think at the moment Chevrolet, with 2 really disappointing flyaway races in South America, in Brazil and Mexico, just have to go out and win races if they can, and I think that's pretty much what they want to do. They don't want to be racing at 9/10 or 8/10 or anything else any more than any other drivers do. And so I think if you've got a fast car, I mean, basically, John, you just have to use it, don't you? You can't be not making the best of what you've got.
No, you can't. I mean, you've got to take points where you can. Every single point is important. Everyone's a prisoner, and the Chevys, apart from Nick Larini, haven't really banked enough points yet this year, and they do need to, because it's a long season. Ivan Muller last year won the championship by only dropping 2 scores, and that is the only way to win a major championship like this. You've got to be consistent. You've got to pick points up each and every time.
There's our poleman Jörg Muller. The enormous air duct there, straight through the middle of the car from right down at the front. So he'll be getting 40-degree or 30-degree air ducted through to him, but it's better than sitting in a sauna in stifling conditions with nothing coming through as he gets ready for the start of race 2. Boss anyway.
Yeah. Hughes Chanak there, he's a very concerned look.
And Jaime Puig, because they worry that Ivan Muller may not be able to effectively start this race, and in fact he might have to get a bit of a push from Gabriele Tarquini.
That's possibly what the problem was with Ivan coming out of the one of the chicanes on the back straight in that last race, and when Jordi Genet got past him. That's what I said before. I think Ivan doesn't often make mistakes, and that's why I would like to have seen if there had been another camera shot to see if he grabbed too much curb. Well, it would now appear that he didn't, and it would now appear that he's maybe had a failing engine in the latter part of that race there.
Yes, it might well have just stumbled on him when he was in the chicane trying to pick up the throttle, and Genet got by. As Genet said in his post-race interview, I put a lot of pressure on Ivan, and normally that doesn't work. Ivan normally doesn't make mistakes, so you're absolutely right. May well be that it was not of his making. Obviously, he'll do anything he can to drag this car to the line in the points-paying positions, because he knows that 0 on the score sheet, well, it's great for a golfer, it's not great for a racing driver.
No, he wants to put points up, and so far this year he's scored on everything, and he doesn't want to start. Although the body language of that car, he's weaving around, that's never going to be ready for the race.
No, they're working on Alex Zanardi's car so that they can take it home in one piece, I think.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that if Ivan felt that that car wasn't capable of starting this race, I suspect he wouldn't be weaving around, heating the tyres and cleaning them up and bringing heat to the brakes. He would already have decided that, no, it's a dog and it's gone back in the pits.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he won't give up as long as he can still pedal it. There's Arno, his engineer, on the right, and Hugues de Schoenack, who runs the Orica team, which runs Ivan Muller and Thiago Montero's Seats as part of this 5-car Spanish Armada.
It would be good to hear some radio connection between Ivan Muller's team and the pit wall, just to hear from the car to the pits what Ivan is saying.
Absolutely. Well, maybe Louise can get down there and have a quick word with Hugues on this warm-up lap and find out what we are hearing, or what he's hearing from Ivan. You could see him chatting to the engineer, so there was no traffic at that stage. But you're right, I mean, he's giving every indication of starting the race, because you don't warm your tyres up just to go back down pit road. So if it gives up on him, then there's nothing he can do about it, but he's going to give it everything he can.
Yeah, he's definitely looking like he's going to take part in this race for sure. Which is good that we've come to a very tight track. You can see that from this angle how tight this track is and how unforgiving it is. And we've only really lost 2 cars.
Yes, everybody was fearing lots of red flags, lots of dramas, lots of laps behind the safety car. And in fact, well, there's a slightly more relaxed expression on the face of Hugues de Schoenack, so I'm assuming that the thumbs up is coming over the radio. Mark Busfield will be a tense man, I think, in the next couple of minutes, with his men 2nd and 3rd and 8th on the grid, and with 1 race win for the new crews. If you're going to get whacked with 60 kilos of penalty for Poe, let's see if we can get 2 race wins out of it before we get hit. On board with Huffy.
Yeah, that's the thing they've got to do right now, and if Nick Larini can get through here and get right on the back of Alain Menu and give him the support that he needs to stop Jörg coming back at him, you could see a Chevrolet 1-2, and we might see some real aggression.
Somebody stop, say to stop, and that is Muller. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Is it
no, that's... No, it's not. Was that Tarquini? No, because Montero's there.
We're not sure who that was. Who have we got? Who's missing? Who's behind the...
It's Genet. Jordi Genet is the car that's at the side of the track. Yeah. Yes, it is. Jordi Genet waving furiously. So the question was whether Ivan Muller's car would be fit to start, and it turns out that the Jinx has jumped ship to Jordi Genet's. They're going to push him back, and that means Eduardo Freitas is going to have to hold off on the start. There's Jordi's race engineer.
They're going to try to stop the... Yeah, he's trying to indicate to...
he's going to have to start the countdown again.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Eduardo could push the car back.
But the problem now is that under bonnet temperatures will be skyrocketing.
Yeah.
5 minutes, 5 seconds. No, okay, so here we go. Genet's out at the back, ready for race 2. Jörg Muller on pole, away he goes. Alain Menu, Nicola Larini follow.
Alain gets a poor start there. He's got too much wheel spin in that car.
And it looked like the turbo diesels were well hooked up, but the Chevys are 2nd and 3rd. And it's Ivan Muller challenging Larini. Behind him, Montero. Look up from Huff. Good start from Huff. Huff's gone through on the inside. He said he was going to have his sleeves rolled up. That's Montero. He's alongside. And they both survive. Montero keeps the place. Huff is in 6th position at the moment.
That was quite a brutal start from Huffy. He's obviously got his angry head on right now.
It wasn't Montero, it was the champion Ivan Muller who he was monstering, and he's gone by Muller. Muller's in trouble. He's got BMWs behind.
Yeah, Muller's going backwards here. There's obviously a problem with that car.
Oh, Alain!
Oh, come on, Alain. It was dusty.
Overshoots. Jörg Muller holds off the brakes and lets him go by. So Jörg leads, Larini is going by Menu. Yes, he is. Larini second, Menu third. Fourth place is, well, it says it's Ivan Muller. It is Ivan Muller, so it was Thiago Monteiro that Rob Huff got by. And in fact, Montero's been passed by Farfus as well. And he's also been passed by Creo, who's got by Benani too. Hernandez is out. He was 12th. And around him were Engsler, Portero and Daste. George Tanev is out as well. He was 18th.
That's been a big hit as well. That looks like there's been 3 cars involved in that.
Oh, over the curbs goes Montero. He's dropped behind Benani as well.
I think
he
we
was
have a
behind.
safety car. We've got a safety car on track.
So Jörg Muller will have to do it all again.
I think there were 3 cars involved in that. It looked like Tanev, it looked like the back end of a ladder being involved in it too.
Right.
So it looked like the 3 of them had come together.
Well, Van Lagen was ahead of Tanev. So Jordi Genet's car doesn't start. So bad weekend for Rydell, bad weekend for Jordi. Podium on race 1 in 3rd, no start race 2. And Ivan's car seems to be okay. He's in 4th ahead of Tarquini. Huff, Farfus in the points in 7th, and Montero slumped to 8th place from 4th at the start. Away they go.
You see, where Alain got caught out there was dust, looked like dust and concrete dust or something to dry something up. And he just outbraked himself. That was a good move by Huffy, right down the inside of Montero.
Well, Huffy had the gap in front of him where Genet should have been, and you can imagine that he rolled his sleeves right up there and just charged down that empty space in front of him. Looking back, this is Farfus going by, Benani staying out of harm's way, all those factory BMWs. Now he gets in front of Engsler as Shapovalov goes off, so Benani holding the independent lead from Engsler. Portero was right behind them, jumping the curbs there. Well, making sure he doesn't make up any places was Montero, drops right in behind Benani, but still, you very well spotted, John, that's Jaap van Lagen's car, so he's been damaged in that incident. Let's have a look.
Alain got caught out in the dust. That's concrete dust to put down against probably some oil or something like that. And then Nick Larini was pretty quick to just capitalise on that move.
Yeah, Nick snapped up that position. Jordi looking very disappointed. That's Christian Poulsen out on the spot. Hernandez is out. Van Lagen going in as well. He really hasn't been able to use the car here. He says this is the best track we've ever been to with this car. And unfortunately not able to capitalise on that. A lot of debris down there they'll be trying to clear up as well.
That could create, if there's glass and pieces of bodywork, that might just create enough shrapnel to give a puncture or two. So that's maybe something the guy's got to be really careful of. They've got to quickly clean up that piece of track, or you know, you're going to end up possibly with punctures here.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we now have 18 cars running after we'd said how well we'd done in the first race to keep almost everybody on board. Now lost a couple. George Tanev's BMW saw there. Christian Poulsen is out on the spot as well.
And Jaap van Lagen.
Van Lagen in the pits, and Sergio Hernandez we also saw badly damaged. So 4-car pile-up, and they were all pretty much nose to tail actually behind Franz Engsler and Tom Coronel. So Felix Portero evaded that, and Vito Postiglione, who was behind all of that, has picked up 4 spots as a result. He moves up into 14th ahead of Stefano Daste and Marin Kolak.
And Andy Prio starting 10th, got himself up to 8th there, so he did a good job in sort of quietly carving himself through, picking up a couple of spaces.
Yeah, he and Farfus both got by Montero and Benani to get themselves some kind of a point scoring. And
Alain will be spitting mad that he made that mistake. He will be spitting now.
Yeah, a chance to win on the street circuits again. May have gone west for Alain Menu. Don't think we'll see the Lada coming back out. Van Lagen's still in it, so hoping that they can repair the tyre and tape up the damage enough to get him back out on track. But of course he'll be a couple of laps behind. Race distance started at 11 laps, and up to 2 more can be added if we have safety car situations. So we're now on lap 2 of 12. He's not coming in now, so it'll go up to a 13 lap race distance now.
I'm not sure what dropped all the oil, but I think
that was one of the support races. That was down at the beginning of the
well, you wonder
race.
why the dust was still there when Alain Menu went down into the start of that race. It's a bit like they put
it was there all the way through the race.
Some more dust down.
Possibly so, but I think he just got himself in too deep. too deep. You saw Christian Poulsen at the side of the track, and lots of very happy Moroccan fans in the grandstands. And throughout practice and free testing, the grandstands have been pretty much empty. It's really seriously hot outside, so they've been in the paddock watching from the shade under trees. But for race day itself, in the grandstands, and yes, more quick dry going down will make that even more slippery.
Yeah, I mean, there's been oil of some sort. There's something landed on that lot, and that wasn't there through the whole of that last race. So
you don't get many badly damaged cars without having to put some stuff down. So
as long as they clear up the sharp bits, because that
yes.
is the problem, is you could end up with punctures, and you really don't want that.
No, absolutely right. You don't need any of that, and you can sweep it away, hopefully.
If Van Muller's car did have some form of problem and it was maybe heat related, sitting behind the safety car when the temperatures are all starting to rise is not really going to do it an awful lot of good. If that car is getting hot, what he needs is at least a bit of speed to fire some colder air in and about the engine itself, and that's not doing him any good at the minute.
Lot of quick dry down on the track, as you can see. It's making visibility difficult as well. Somebody has trailed their guts all the way around this long 180, and as you come out of that chicane in first gear, you then keep your foot flat to the boards until you get onto the brakes at the end of it. Van Lagen is going back out. Interesting times seeing Philippe Streff back at a racetrack and supporting a young man who seems to be doing a very strong job. Bernani out of the points at the moment, outright points, but still leading the independence category. And he's got Thiago Monteiro as a rear gunner behind him as well, which won't be exactly what Monteiro wants to do, but it does hold off Engstler, Coronel, Portero, Postiglione, Daste and Colac. So 6 independent cars all together. And that has got to be a bonus for Bernani, because if he gets away at the restart, the other 6 guys will be knocking each other's wing mirrors off for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and that would be great news for him, because he could just win the independence part of this race as well, and then he really would get a check from SEAT. But we'll just have to wait and see. He's in some fairly illustrious company. He's got Farfus, Prio and Thiago Monteiro, Formula 1 driver on his tail, and triple world champion in front of him.
Yeah, and not disgracing himself in any way, shape or form. So
no,
yeah, exactly. You're judged by the benchmarks that you judge yourself against, and he's got some pretty tough benchmarks here.
If ever you wanted to see an unhappy Swede, you've just seen one in the shape of Ricky Rydell there.
I'm trying to think of a way of making a Maltese cross joke there, but I don't think it's working. So here we go. Let's restart it then. Jürg Müller leads them away to complete lap 3 of 13. Larini right with him.
See how close Larini is on the back bumper here of Müller.
And the Chevy has got top speed here to spare over the BMWs. Whether you can convert that into a pass on somebody as tough as Jürg is an entirely separate issue.
Yeah, he's a real tough but fair driver. He won't fling you in the wall, but I'll tell you what, he's not a guy to sort of pull over and let you through. Thank you very much.
Menu pulls out alongside, on board with Rob Huff, and Huff is behind Tarquini, a little further back in the queue. So down at the end of the long straight, turn 4 and 5, this little left-right flick.
That's it, down to that first gear corner, then it's second, third and fourth through here, and then back to second for that particular one that leads on to the back straight. And if you get a poor run out of there, it's a kilometre down to the first chicane, and you just lose so much time, so much energy in the car.
Muller's best chance to win this race was the standing start and pole position combined, wasn't it?
Aye.
Restart, he's got them all over the back of him, and the BMW we saw in practice, in qualifying, is not a match for the Crews. Larini might be in a position in a lap or two to win his first ever race for Chevrolet, and that will certainly have been a result of a lot of persistence from Nick.
I think Alain Menu is actually, there's a lot of dust on the front of Alain Menu's windscreen, and it looks to me like you can hardly see through the window. It's a bit like he's lost some visibility there, maybe with all that white dust.
Yeah, you don't often get windscreens misting up on the outside, and the onboard camera confirms exactly that. He is driving on a foggy day, but he's right up behind Larini, so there'll be white mist on the outside and red mist on the inside of that visor.
Yeah, there will be no quarter given here, and Nick's going to be all over the track. See that? He's blocking him all over the place.
Yeah, he's going to have to. Larini really has to watch out for his teammate as much as he's trying to get by by Jörg Müller, I think you're right. Menu is going to be very, very much a thorn in the side.
Yeah, I mean, the problem here is Alain is absolutely furious with himself now. He made a mistake, he outbraked himself, and he is well peed off.
And he spent race 1 breathing in Nick's exhaust fumes to get a good grid position for race 2. He really doesn't want to squander race 2 doing exactly the same thing.
No, Nick's weaving about all over the place here to make sure he doesn't come through, but they're actually going to outbrake themselves.
Oh, and Müller just, does he or doesn't he? Menu gets through, really elbows his way past Larini. He had no option though, he couldn't have dropped in. Right behind though, does it fall into Ivan Muller's lap? It might do. Müller and Tarquini, and Menu's in trouble. Puncture, surely.
No,
he slowed right down.
Yeah, no, what happened there was Nick Larini tagged him. Nick tagged him on the way out of there, so I don't know whether he's maybe done some damage to the back of it.
Maybe the contact has just knocked a valve off or something. Maybe it's something entirely unrelated, but Menu is out of the race, and Huff is desperately trying to find a way by before the BMWs get onto his back bumper. Menu will be coming into the pits, but Müller still leads. This is going to be a dramatic race. On board there with Prio, that was behind Farfus as they pick up a place each to go 6th and 7th. Müller leads, Larini in 2nd place, and Huff now up to 5th.
Huff is all over the back of these guys. He's jinking left and right to try to pass the blokes in front.
Can I just say, double race win?
Nah, not yet.
No, not yet.
He's protecting from the back and trying to attack from the front here, and he's got Farfus all over his butt. And he's trying hard to get past the two Seats in front of him of Tarquini and Müller. But it's a good little battle going here, and right on the back of that is Banani.
Farfus, Prio, Montero's got in ahead of Banani, and Banani's next rivals are Engstler and Coronel as Menu makes it into the pit lane.
I'm not sure Menu's going to be happy with that, because if you see another shot of that Menu and Larini tagging each other there, I don't think Alain, he took advantage of them making a mistake, and then it looked like there'd been a hit off each other. You just see it again, what happens here. They all outbrake themselves. Nick can't go anywhere. They go around the back. He tags the back of Alain, which is not really a problem. But then...
Oh, good move by Huffy. Yeah. He was shaping up for that on the last lap, and he put it in on Tarquini. Clearly the Chevy has still got a bit more to offer the Seats under braking, and Huff moves up now to 4th place.
Nick is all over the back of Müller as well now.
Well, Larini senses this opportunity, John, to win a race, doesn't he? He's been having a pretty low weekend. He's been feeling really rotten as Daste gets turned around by Vito Postiglione, and the little baby Jesus pays him back. He's in the barriers himself.
This was a good move by Huff on Tarquini. Just particularly down into this real dusty section here, but it was that was a great move.
So Chevrolet 2nd and 4th at the moment. Larini's been struggling physically with a really sore shoulder and back. He's not had much fun in the car. He really didn't enjoy himself in practice or qualifying. And suddenly, he's a man with his tail up because he's got the sniff of a chance to win a race, and that does a wonderful thing to a racing driver.
Yeah, you just need even a hint of that and you're on it. And it doesn't matter how much pain you're in. You will do absolutely everything and anything. And you know, it's interesting here that the Rob Huff has just gone fastest lap of the race so far. He's 2-3 tenths up on his previous lap and 2-3 tenths up on everyone else. He's a man on a mission, and he looks at this moment in time like a podium. It looks like it's a podium for him, if not a race win. But he's got to pass little Nick, and Nick's not going to give this one up, I don't think.
Well, no, Nick will be using this opportunity now to focus on Jörg Müller and try and force Jörg to make another mistake. It was Jörg outbraking himself that was at the front of that incident between Larini and Menu, and clearly the BMW doesn't have the brakes of the Chevrolet either. And actually, don't forget, Nick hit that tyre stack there. I'm impressed that the car is still completely integral.
But the BMW has not had the best pace all weekend, and to be honest, I mean, he's a second a lap down on he's a second a lap slower than Rob Huff.
Yep.
But he's still managing to hold off Nick Larini. Now Nick needs to get on him, because the longer he sits behind him, the more Jörg figures out where he's stronger or weaker. When you get behind a guy like that, you don't mess about like Huffy did. You get on his butt and you pass him right away.
Yep. Absolutely. And Müller half a second on the last lap slower than Larini. Larini has closed the gap to a few microns of paint between them, looking to the inside, down into the hairpin.
This is going to end in tears.
Into the second chicane rather, but he's close enough to challenge at every braking position, and that means that Muller has now got half a race in which he's got to defend hard against a car that's better on brakes.
Yeah, but I mean, if Nick had just thought about that a little bit more, he knew that he was stronger on the brakes. If he just didn't try to attack him there, got a right run at him coming out of that chicane and stuck under his bumper, he could have forced him into a mistake down into the final hairpin.
Both Mullers going defensive, Postiglione back in the pits, but we need to have a look back at Rob Huff, because Huff is shaping up something for Yvan Muller. He might not have it here, but look, what he wants here, John, is a really good exit from this chicane to go down this next kilometre of straight.
But I don't think he's going to have the performance to pass the Seat on the straight unless Yvan genuinely has a problem, and I don't think he has, because he's sticking in good lap times. But Rob has just done another fastest lap there, fastest lap of the race. You see how the Seat just pulls that gap out on them.
But not enough. Look, he's not getting far away enough. Rob's half a second a lap quicker, which puts him right back into position. Prio going by Montero. Yes, he is as well. And Engstler is now right with Benani. That's the independent 1-2 right there behind this battle. Looking back at Prio, that was getting back 7th place from Thiago Montero, who'd obviously got by him a little earlier in the lap. And again, Larini right with Muller. Huff, ditto, right with Muller, just a different one.
Yeah, and Yvan is now starting to look defensive because he knows he's under attack from Rob, and Rob is a stronger package here. You can see that he's definitely making the effort to protect that slot.
Oh, again, Larini so close to Jörg Muller there. There was definitely an overlap as they got into the braking area, and as you say, Yvan Muller's got nothing to offer.
That's not going to work, Nick.
No, and he knows it, but he's shaping up to try and force Jörg to go in too deep under brakes, maybe.
Now he needs to have a go at him down into the hairpin, because if he could get a good throw out through there, and he's well protected, to get around the outside of him, get a better exit from here, and he could nail him into turn 1.
Pushing him out of the corner, and Yvan Muller, Jörg Muller slides out wide. Larini's got a long run now, 700 metres to the braking area. He's got the lead, and
Yvan Muller's looking for a piece of this action too.
Yes, suddenly that's bunched the top 4 right up. So is...
And Yvan goes through.
Our race 1 winner.
Rob Huff goes through as well.
Yes, great move by Huff. So... Larini moves into the lead, Huff into 3rd, and Yvan just straightened up by the wall. He's using his ice racing skills there to straighten the back of that Seat. Jörg's got a puncture or a problem of some kind. Did he hit the wall?
Yeah,
yes.
He did hit
Has
the
he
wall.
got a puncture?
I think what it's done is it's maybe either broken a wheel or broken a bit of the rear suspension, because he's now going backwards. But that was a real good move by Huffy.
Fantastic stuff by Huff. Jörg hanging on desperately to some points now. This is good for Farfus. Why? Because Jörg is going to hold up Tarquini and make him very slow, and so Farfus just needs to find some space to go by Tarquini's Seat.
Yeah, and that's maybe easier said than done.
Yes, true. And Prio coming up behind as well.
But so far, I think Alamenu, whatever they've done to his car, they've just fired them back out the pit lane. So they're just going to be doing a bit of testing now. Yeah,
Alan's 3 laps behind at least, so it's not going to make much difference to him, I'm afraid. But at least the car is still running, whatever was ailing it. Larini leads, and Rob Huff, our race 1 winner, hassling the 2nd place man, our world champion Yvan Muller.
Benani managed to miss that chicane there. He may have to be very careful that Engstler doesn't get him.
Well, he's obviously being very careful about Engstler. Huff flashing the lights at Yvan Muller. Hello, I'm here.
Yeah, well, that's not going to work with a guy like Muller. You have to aggravate him a lot more than that.
Yeah, you have to hit him with those lights before he notices you're there. He's not paying any attention to his mirrors at the moment. He's just driving on speed to try and stay in front. On board with our 3rd place man, Jörg Muller in 4th place, ahead of Tarquini, Farfus, Prio and Montero, our point scorers. Benani 9th. From Engstler, he's on the back of this queue. Oh, just missed him in shot. Benani, Engstler, Coronel separated the 3 of them by just a whisker over 1 second. So a couple of car lengths, 1st to 2nd to 3rd in independence.
And now that Nick Larini's got clear track in front of him, he's got his head down and he's just put in the fastest lap of the race, which is a couple of tenths faster than anyone else has done so far. So the speed is in that Chevrolet, and Nick is he's going to be a hard man to convince not to win this race now.
Yeah, absolutely right. Bernani there on the back of the queue behind Montero has put some clear air between himself and Engstler to the tune of 0.6 of a second. There you can see Victor Shapovalov and Kirill Ladigin on board with Jaap van Lagen. Doesn't seem to be going particularly quickly according to the engine note. Now we've got the right one for his car though, but what can Rob Huff do? Is he going to be able to get close enough to Ivan?
Well, he won't force him into a mistake, I don't think, because as I said before, Ivan is he's a pro, he doesn't make too many mistakes, but you see Thiago Montero here trying, or is that Gab? Is that Montero?
No, that's Montero,
yeah, having a go at Andy Prio, but as I say, Ivan Muller doesn't make too many mistakes, and Rob's going to have to pass him cleanly. And at least you know with Ivan, he won't throw you in the wall either.
No, exactly.
If he knows he's beat, then he's beat.
Victor Shapovalov, I'm sensing, ran out of brakes there.
Yeah, well, it looked that way. Either that or skill, ran out of talent.
Yeah, halfway through the corner anyway, it wasn't going left anymore, it was just going straight on. So actually maybe he had a steering problem of some kind, because he didn't seem to be making any attempt to turn for him.
And considering Jörg Müller seemed to lose momentum after everybody jumped on him, he's got his backside into gear again, and he's just starting to pick up the pace. He's found a lot of speed, and he's actually done his fastest sort of race lap personal best, and I think he's pretty angry now. He needs to get back in and try and recoup some of the lost or some of the damage he created.
Yeah.
But Rob continues relentlessly to push Ivan Muller here, and he's not going to make a mistake, but if he's not careful, you're going to have Jörg Müller on his back bumper hassling him.
Behind Prio and Montero. Prio extreme left of the track as the driver sees it. Montero right behind him. Prio glued to the inside wall all the way down to the chicane. Oh, and outbrakes himself. That was a mistake by the world champion, former world champion. Bernani goes behind as well and makes a mistake. Well, Prio was deep on the inside, just couldn't find enough grip, so he lost the place to Montero. Bernani followed him off. Watch Mehdi Bernani, outbrakes himself, straight through into the lead go Engstler and Coronel. They're now 1 and 2 in independence. Bernani rejoins behind Prio, so he'll be third in the independence category, but a dream double win for him, I'm afraid, just went wrong at that braking area. And as you said, Jörg Müller is going quicker and quicker. There is Udo Schoenack willing Ivan Muller to hang on to second place ahead of Rob Huff.
But the problem with outbraking yourself here, it's easy done because you're right under the back bumper of someone, and there's very little billboards on the side of the track you can take as braking points. And Bernani just looked as though he missed his braking. The guy in front, Prio, he made a mistake, and he just didn't see when to stop.
Yeah. Very hard when you're in a queue like this, the drivers say, to position yourself on the track to get those distance references unless you pull out. And of course, when you're getting into the braking area, it's so important. Shapovalov joins Poulsen down there in the dead car park.
Coronel's moved up to second in the independence as well, behind Engstler.
Yeah.
So that was a real costly mistake by Bernani.
Yeah. Well, Huff still flashing the lights. He's still all over the back of Ivan Muller, but Jörg Müller is right with them as well. Only a couple of car lengths back. Engstler now leads the independence category.
And they're all trading tenths of a second here. You know, Muller, Ivan Muller, Huff, Jörg Müller, Tarquini, Farfus, they're all a tenth of a second.
Behind this 1-2 in the independence, Prio has got Bernani right behind him, and Bernani has now set the fastest final sector of the entire field on that last lap. So he is quicker on the last part of the track than anybody else has been. He and Andy Prio both getting through that final sector in 41.7 seconds, which is about 2 seconds quicker than anybody else. 42s, 43s for the rest of the field.
Rob still continuing to have a look at the back of Ivan here, but it's just he's just not able to take advantage of anything. There's no coming out of that corner, for instance, the Seat just gets that little bit away from him, and Rob just can't quite get enough to get back on him again.
Absolutely right. He is very close indeed, and frustratingly unable to make enough of a difference. And that's what happens, you know, you get out of the chicane, the Seat puts its hoof down, just pulls an extra car length away. And John, that's the difference between being passed and not being passed.
Yeah, Ivan he knows now that he's really struggling here. He doesn't have the pace he knows this car would normally have. and he is playing mega defensive. The trouble is that he's not only got Huffy behind him, he's got Jörg Miller, Tarquini and Farfus all bang, bang, bang right behind him.
Priaulx is in the pits. No points for Andy Priaulx this weekend then. And Rob Huff has one final lap to try and unseat Ivan Muller from second place to make a Chevrolet 1-2 on the streets of Marrakech. But looks destined to make his second podium appearance anyway. Larini 1.9 seconds clear on the last lap, so that's an extra 6/10 on that lap over Ivan Muller. That's how hard the Seat driver is defending.
And what they've done, just to prove a point here, is they've stuck Alan Menu back out, who's just done the fastest lap of the race. They've obviously stuck some tyres on it, go out and have some fun, find out how this car really works, because the next track we go to is a street track. They need to gain as much data as they possibly can to make sure they've got the car right for the next race.
Now, if I was them, I would have spent 2 laps bolting 60 kilos of ballast into the car to then find out what it's going to handle like in Pau, because the chances are they will be on maximum success ballast when we go to France. Down the back straight for the final time. Huff still showing, but still not going to force an accident. And Ivan Muller keeps his defence nice and tight. Well, here is our race leader, Nicola Larini, bouncing across the curbs. Huff again trying to make an overlap. Muller not going to give anything away here.
Now, Ivan's just not going to, he's not going to make that mistake that gives Rob an absolute, just a chance. There's just no way that Ivan is going to give that up.
Final hairpin. And out of the final corner, Nicola Larini is going to win his first race for Chevrolet. A day of first, the first win for the Crews, the first win for Nicola Larini in Chevrolet colours after 4 long, thirsty years. Ivan Muller takes a great second place when he worried on the grid that he might not even be able to start the race. Third for Rob Huff, the race 1 winner. And Bonani, third in the independence category, won by Franz Engstler in 8th place. Points overall for Engstler. That really helps him in the championship as well, because he gets 3 times that added to his score, which will be so that's a 13-point score for him for winning that race. But Larini, well, he's been relatively chipper, but not exactly overjoyed all weekend. He will be a very much happier man now to have claimed his first win for Chevrolet. And if they get 60 kilos of success ballast for Pau, so be it. They've made the best use they could of their race car this weekend. A win for Rob Huff, a win for Nicola Larini, and Huff back on the podium in 3rd place. So a really, really good weekend for the man who, let's not forget, finished in 3rd place in last year's Drivers' World Championship, Chevrolet's Rob Huff. Jörg Muller ended up in 4th place from a pole that should at the very least, have yielded him a podium, if not a win. 5th place for Tarquini, 6th for Augusto Farfus, so both Schnitzer BMWs gaining some points. 7th for Thiago Monteiro, and 8th place as Franz Engstler, our race winners in the independent category. Stefano Daste's car stops on the slowing down lap. Well, that's good timing for it. Andy Priaulx in the pit lane, and I'm not sure actually Daste's car did stop on the slowing down lap. I think he's a lap. He did not finish the race actually, so he should still be rated as a finisher, a lap behind. So
now my additions right here. We got Ivan Muller with 43 points leading the championship, from Gabriele Tarquini with 32, and then Rick Rydell third with 30 points. And then we have Augusto Farfus with 24 points. Him out, but hey, he's improved. He's won races now, and there we go.
Absolutely.
Or won our race.
Well, I think, as you say, this is probably the start of where he becomes a successful Chevrolet driver as well. And the huge relief and the confidence as well that he knows it's not always going to be just misfortune. For Alain Menu, well, it's not been much of a race weekend here in Africa, has it? But for Huff and for Larini, and of the two, actually, especially I think for Larini, really important. And Ivan Muller, you see how happy he looked with his work.
Yeah, I think
today.
I'd like to know what exactly it was that was wrong with Ivan's car, but quite clearly it wasn't too serious, because he did a a lap time. Okay, it was a slow lap time by their standards, but nonetheless he finished, and maybe we'll hear from him in the press conference as to what exactly the mechanical problems were with that car.
Yeah, absolutely. There's Philippe, the head of the Orica group, and Larini will be, I'm sure, pretty ebullient. There's Franz Engstler, claimed pole for the independents and claimed victory in the independents category. Really hard fought race weekend in the independent category. He was a whisker ahead of Tom Coronel at the line, with Mehdi Banani in third place. But Engstler second behind Banani in the first race, so got more championship points than his rivals. So it's been a good weekend for Engstler. Top of all the BMWs in the entire paddock in qualifying. You can't argue with that.
Nicola, your first ever WTCC win. Congratulations.
Oh, finally, yeah. After 5 years, this was my year. The feeling was this, so I really start the season thinking about, but now I can think also, I can believe that the championship is not a dream or nightmare last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's so much of this game, like any other sport, is about confidence. It's the head game, John. You know, and especially in motor racing, when you're in an equal car to 2 or 3 other guys, when you still aren't getting the results self-doubt creeps in and continues to creep in, and he needs this boost, doesn't he, to get the form back that he should be able to produce.
The biggest problem that you have in a team is your own teammate. That is your biggest competitor. You have the same equipment, you have the same mechanicals, you have the same opportunity as he has, and that is the biggest thing you have. You've got to first beat your own teammate before you start beating everyone else. And the Seats do a super job of working together on that. The Chevy boys, I think maybe this is a turning point for them where they will all start to work together. I mean, for Nick, that's good. I mean, he's 2 points behind Rob Huff. But Alain still hasn't really scored the point yet. I think he's got 2 points in the championship. He needs to get on with this quite quickly. Otherwise, his championship is gone now, but he needs to start winning races to give him the confidence again.
Absolutely. Well, there is a very happy Franz Engstler. We saw him having a bit of a rest before the final qualifying run yesterday, just chilling out and collecting his thoughts, and he went out and put in a better lap than any other BMW driver in the place to start 7th on the overall race grid. Fantastic result. So Ivan Muller leads by 12 now from Gabriele Tarquini, 13 ahead of the man that he tied with coming here. So a 13-point weekend for Ivan Muller. You can't argue with that. Janae in 4th ahead of Farfus and Prio, both of whom lost ground considerably. And Huff now on page 1 of the timing screens, and as you say, just a couple of points ahead of Nick Larini, and Alain Menu with just the 2 points. There are independent drivers with considerably more championship points than he. So yes, it's not been a good race weekend for Alain Menu, but for Nicola Larini, finally he and Ray Mallock have conspired to produce that magical first race win. Well, 2 very entertaining races, far much less carnage, John, than everybody suspected and feared. And actually, for a first ever race weekend, the facility is stunning and the races were pretty entertaining as well.
Fantastic. I will be looking forward to coming back here next year. I believe there are some changes destined for the outline of the track. It might be a more interesting track for the drivers next year when they come back, but I think the people in Morocco have done a fantastic job in creating a facility like this out of nothing but sand. And they've done a great job. So I mean, I'm really looking forward to coming back and see what changes they've made to this place.
Absolutely right, and I'm sure Rob Huff and Nicola Larini will be among the big fans of this place as well, having both won. It's again street circuit, different Chevrolet, different conditions, but producing the win that we start to come to expect from the Chevrolets on street circuits. That every other street track in the calendar that we've ever been to has been won at least one race by the Chevy Lachetti, and now the Cruise starts its own independent little history in that way as well. And Huffy there on the podium in both races. That's got to be a great race weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be delighted with that he's now got some points on the board, and very quickly some very good points on the board. But I think Nick Larini he's got the monkey off his back now. He was the one Chevy driver that had won nothing, and must have been questioning his own ability, and I'm quite sure the team were questioning it too, but they've stuck with him, and he's now given them a result which is fantastic.
Now, Rob Huff, a 16-point weekend, that's almost as good as you can possibly get. The only slight drawback is that Ivan Muller, the championship leader, had a 13-point weekend. So first and third in 2 races for the Chevrolet. Rob Huff is only 3 points closer to the championship leader. So that shows how hard his first race weekends were. And now he's still got a lot of work to do. So our race winner, Nicola Larini, Eric Nervo Chevrolet, very happy. And the Italian, I'm sure, but he normally is quite tight-lipped in press conferences, but I'm sure we'll hear a few more thoughts from him when we get him up into the cool of the press centre and have a few words with him. And for Mehdi Banani, first in race 1 in the independent category and third in race 2. Really solid race weekend. Just one moment of outbreaking. The only mistake I think we've seen or noticed from him all weekend cost him a double race win. And Ivan Muller, again, championship form, isn't it? You know, you come here, you don't win anything, but you're still 13 points. You're the second highest scoring driver in the business. Yeah,
and that's what Ivan is good at, and that's what I said before. He's very capable of banking points, making good use of the points. He never gives up. That's his wife and daughter there, and he's got some real good support behind him this year, and you wouldn't think that Nick Larini was happy, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. And our independent trophy winner is Franz Engsler, and again he will be a very happy man there. The Liquid Moly BMW on the podium. Ray Malek, well, his cars have won their first 2 races in weekend number 3, so that's a pretty decent rate of progression for the brand new Cruise.
Yeah, that's a good start, and okay, it's going to mix up the points a little. It's going to mix up the weights as well, I would suggest, by the time we get to pole. But hey ho, that's what it's all about. That's what makes this championship worth watching. That's what makes it entertaining right to the last. So that's an anthem I haven't heard for a long time.
John, we saw a very emotional Moroccan on the podium when he heard his anthem, or when he was on the podium there, winning the independent trophy. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there was a tear in Nick's eye there as well, hearing the anthem on the top step of the podium. It's always that little moment of stillness that sort of brings it back to you that you have won the race. And for him, it's been, as he said, this is season 5. It's been a long time coming.
I mean, it's a long time since he's heard the national anthem due to him standing in the top step. I hope they don't give him a bottle of champagne to spray here, because he'll have forgotten how to open it.
Well, want to enjoy it as well. We won't be getting any bottles of champagne here, of course. Might be some fizzy rose water or something like that, but nothing with alcohol content. But this big trophy for Nicola Larini probably represents a very equally large moment for him. That is going to be one that takes a lot of pride of place in his house.
Yeah, that's going to be maybe the start of him winning a few.
Now, if I'd thought to look earlier, I could have told you now, and in fact the last Grand Prix of Morocco was won by an Italian 50 years ago, but I don't know who won the last Grand Prix of Morocco, so I can't. It may well have been an Italian, may well have been an Argentine. I'm not exactly sure who won. My flimsy excuse that I'm too young is probably not going to wash. I just didn't do enough research. Ray Malek receives the winning Constructors Trophy. So, in fact, the RML tent is going to be quite chocker with trophies, isn't it?
Might have to pop down there and have a beer with the boys and congratulate them. There's Alan Menu, just thinking what could have been.
Yep. Well, two very different race weekends for those two boys compared to Alain. He just had a shocker, and they both had good race weekends. Oh, I remain corrected then. bottle of Cordon Rouge. He didn't waste much time with that, did he?
Well, he obviously hasn't forgotten how to open them. I would have thought it's been such a long time that he wouldn't have known how to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to get a kick in for that, and rightly so. Very, very important moment for him. He might be blinded by champagne.
Yeah, that's the thing. Champagne does sting your eyes in that situation.
Certainly does. But his colleagues among the paddock, I mean, any driver will understand just how important it is after such a long while to have come up with a race win. Ivan certainly will, Rob certainly will, so a lot of empathy there. And for the engineers that work so closely with Nick over a 4-year period without that top step moment, now a chance perhaps to turn around those fortunes. Looks like Ray copped for more of the champagne than anyone else, actually.
Yeah, he might need to get a new shirt out this weekend.
He looks like he's been in the swimming pool, but of course his hotel doesn't have one.